My husband and I love to hike, and one summer we went on a hike that we hadn't been on before. It was to take us up to a waterfall. We're supposed to get a beautiful view from the top, and there was another path that could take you to the bottom so you could walk in the creek and get in the waterfall a little bit. There was a point where it wasn't well marked. Which way do we go? We looked around. There was kind of a little bit of maybe possibly a trail off to one side or keep going on this other trail. I don't know. We just got confused. We kind of stood there. My husband was checking the All Trails app to see if he could tell better which direction to go. We really couldn't tell. And so we just kept on going. We thought this like faint trail might be the upper waterfall part. And we kept going and realizing we're going further away from where that waterfall should be. We're heading up deeper into the mountains. And so we backtracked, came back to that spot. He pulled out the app again, read some more reviews from other hikers, and figured out, oh, okay, we've got to turn here. And then just a little bit further, there would be the turnoff that we're looking for. And so it was kind of a relief to be able to do that, to find that point where we could stop, we could check ourselves, and then head back in the right direction that we needed to go. So, what's the metaphor? The metaphor today is anxiety. We're talking about anxiety, the path that anxiety takes you on. When you're experiencing anxiety, you are, I'm going to say we, because I experience anxiety just like everybody else. When we are experiencing anxiety, our brain is ruminating and worrying and feeling fearful of the future, thinking about worst possible scenarios, um, and having a difficult time seeing a way forward and feeling confident that outcomes will be good and that we have capacity to figure it out or to know what to do. So I want to talk a little bit about anxiety today. And I also bring it up because I've noticed that some of my clients and some of the students that I work with are are getting too caught up in anxiety and as a doom a doom and gloom end point. There's no way through it. This is just how it is. I will never be able to go forward in my life. And it's really hard to see that, especially in teenagers who have so much ahead of them. They have so much of their life to still look forward to and to plan for, and I hope that they can find confidence in themselves, in their capacity to learn and grow and change, and to see the future as a positive thing. It doesn't have to be terrifying. The future can actually be something that you are excited about. And something that's interesting about anxiety and excitement is that in our bodies, they actually feel very much the same. The physical response that we have, or feeling anxiety or feeling excitement, is actually very much the same, very similar. How our feeling in our body is, like the heart rate, the muscles, and the energy level, the maybe the pace of your breathing. It's very similar. So what is different is your thinking and the projection that you have for the future. That's the difference. So you're having the same physical experience, but your mindset, your thinking about the future is totally different. With anxiety, you want to avoid the future, right? With excitement, you can't wait. You want it to happen right now. So sometimes that can be the problem. It's too far away. It's in 2 weeks instead of right now. So excitement has a little bit of um, its own challenge, because we want something to be happening right now and it's in the future. So how does this work? I want to show you a couple of posters that I have. So with our amazing bodies that we have this incredible system that is helping us to make sense of all the sensory input that we have around us and within us. It's all telling a story, it's all communicating something, and our brain is trying to make sense of all of this, trying to determine, is this useful? Is this helpful? Is this something I should focus on? Do I just ignore this and forget about it? Um, Is it something that's going to predict an outcome for the future, right? Is it a good prediction or is it a scary prediction? And so our thinking is just all up here in our brain. And I really love to emphasize it's just electricity. It's just electrical impulses. Your thinking is just these neurons firing um, and communicating, sending information, lighting up different neural pathways. That's all that your thoughts are. They're not something physical like your hand, that if you got rid of your hand, you'd have a huge problem. But you can change thoughts. You can get rid of thoughts. You can change them into something that's more supporting and less limiting. How valuable, how powerful that is. Our body is the answer. I love to share that message as well. And so our brain is having the firing of the neurons and and then triggering possibly the amygdala in your brain. That is the threat response center, right? It when the amygdala is triggered, your brain believes that something is a threat, then your body goes into fight, flight, freeze. Anxiety is a result of your brain deciding that something is a threat to some degree, to some level, and to some potential magnitude, and it will cause a release of chemicals in your brain that then send that signal into your body, and your body in the nerves and the muscles, your organs are all going to respond. The main nerve being your vagus nerve. It's going to start at it starts at the base of your brain and travels all the way to the top of your gastrointestinal tract. And that's why when you have anxiety, when there's something in your brain saying, this is a danger to me, this is a threat, I'm going to have a terrible outcome, something horrible is going to happen and come of this, there's no way out. That's anxiety. It gets you in this loop of worry and fear. And so then your body's going to experience that. And I'm a life coach. My name is Michelle Cox. I'm a certified life coach. I want you to think about, how do you feel in your body? When you are experiencing anxiety, you are going to be unique. You're not going to be just like anybody else. We're all going to be different. When you can name it as, this is anxiety, what does it feel like? Where in your body do you feel it? How is it affecting your heart rate? How is it affecting your breathing? How is it affecting your digestion? Because that vagus nerve goes all the way down to your gastrointestinal tract, it's affecting your digestion, right? It can affect the way that you handle food and process food. And do you get a stomach ache? I've had a woman in one of my classes say when she feels anxiety, she feels like she's going to throw up. Probably some of you can relate to that. Or maybe you lose your appetite and you feel sick, right? You can't handle it. That anxiety response is affecting how your body is functioning. Now, anxiety is one of those emotions that plays on our brain's capacity to look to the future. As you can see, our brain is so amazing. It can really concentrate and focus on things of the past. It can think about what's happening right now. It can think about what might happen and make a lot of predictions. Our brains make constant predictions. And all the while, your body is in the present. Your body stays in the present. Your body is going to react to whatever your brain is thinking. If you're remembering a week ago when you were driving and maybe you lost control a little bit in the rain and it was scary, right? You thought you were going to crash. Your brain is predicting all the time. It's predicting something bad is going to happen, so I have to protect myself. So as you're maybe hydroplaning a little bit, but you regain control, your heart is probably thudding, right? You're probably breathing really shallow and fast because that was scary. Your brain predicted a bad outcome, but you were able to gain control. Your body can feel that same response when you're thinking about it today, even though it was last week, or if it happened 10 years ago. If you think about it enough, you can remember it, and your body feels it and experiences it as if it were happening right now. Anxiety plays on this future part of our brain's capacity to think. Anxiety is going to start creating images and possibilities of a negative outcome. And it can cause our body to have a lot of tension and have the cortisol release, maybe even adrenaline. And typically, I think with anxiety, it's more of a high energy emotion. Some emotions are lower energy and some are higher energy. Anxiety is one that tends to get our heart racing, doesn't it? And our thoughts racing. And we feel it, our whole body. Maybe you notice that your muscles are tensing up in your shoulders or in your chest, in your face, in your neck. That vagus nerve is really fascinating because it has branches, and that's why it's called vagus, because vagus is Latin for wandering. So it has branches from that vagus nerve that branch off into your face, into your to touch your lungs, to influence your heart, and all the way down to your gut. And so that wandering makes it so that your whole body then is affected and is reacting and responding to the threat response in your brain. So, what do we do about this? Are we just victims of our thinking and victims of anxiety? It's just something we can't control. Now, there is a difference between anxiety as a trait, like maybe someone has maybe a more nervous disposition. They're kind of born that way. Or they grew up in a home where there was a lot of tension and control and a lot of fear and worry. And so that child then grows up feeling more anxious and becomes maybe more embedded with that tendency because of how the home environment was. But anxiety can also just be a state of your body, a state of your nervous system because of a challenge that you're facing. And there's nothing wrong with you if either of these scenarios sounds like you, right? So if you grew up, maybe you had a loving home, things were pretty peaceful and stable, but you just had more of a nervous personality, you tended to just naturally worry a little bit more. That's okay. There's still hope for you. You don't have to stay in that state. You don't have to stay maybe so locked into that and say that's just how I am. That's just how it's always going to be. Because even things that are heritable, even things that we are born with, we can work with, and we might be able to find some good coping strategies. We don't have to stay tied up by a natural process that we were maybe more born to have. Um, but also, if it's a state, that means it's just temporary. We're all going to feel anxious. We're all going to feel worried at times. We're all going to have things that really push us out of our comfort zone, like every day, right? There's always something every day that causes us to feel concerned and make those predictions. Remember, our brain is constantly making predictions. What's going to happen if I do this? What's going to happen if I do that? What happens if they don't answer my text? What happens if I don't get this call back? What happens? What happens? And our brains are always trying to make predictions. And that's just a state that we might be in where we're in a moment of feeling tense and anxious because we don't know how the outcome is going to be, or it looks like something bad is happening. And that's a state. Okay. Well, there is also another difference. There is a diagnosable situation where someone has generalized anxiety disorder, and that is much bigger than just a passing state or even a trait that can be managed and negotiated with. So, from Brené Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart, I love this book. I love how she describes anxiety and how she helps to clarify a little bit more of how we can understand anxiety. So she says that for her, escalating loss of control, worst case scenario thinking and imagery, and total uncertainty are how she defines and describes her experience with anxiety. Does that sound familiar? So this escalating loss of control, that's how you feel like you're losing control. Worst case scenario, that's that doomsday kind of mindset that we can adopt. And total uncertainty. We just have no idea what the outcome is going to be. I love this image that she shares in her book. And it says, this is by Elizabeth Gilbert. It says, you are afraid of surrender because you don't want to lose control. But you never had control. All you had was anxiety. So that's one of the catches that we can get caught in with anxiety. We think that we're controlling things by staying in this elevated, high energy, high adrenaline, high cortisol state. And we think that's how we're going to control something. If we think about it and all the potential bad things that could happen, maybe I'll be able to control it and stop it. Maybe I'll be able to change the course and I'll be able to redirect and I'll control other people, I'll control the circumstance, I'll control the outcome. And that's kind of what we get stuck in when we have anxiety. We think that the more I put energy and thought into this, then maybe I can control it and I can stop it or I can manipulate it. But so often we don't have full control, right? We can't possibly control every outcome. We can't possibly control every circumstance. And when we believe that we should, that's when anxiety really can have a much um, bigger hold, a much tighter grasp on us. When we think I should have control. So, one of the things that we can do is to stop believing that we should have control over everything and start to see there are pieces that will always be outside of my control. And how am I going to handle that? I can handle it with resilience. I can be open to the ebb and flow of life and of other people's choices, and I can learn um, advocate for myself if I need to, but also to allow there to be this kind of give and take with other people, give and take with life, because we can't control everything. So in my family, just this last week on Thursday, um, my my youngest son is 8 years old. I have five boys and a girl. My youngest one is 8. He was playing in the backyard just shooting hoops, and he was playing alone. I had taken my daughter to volleyball. My husband's inside getting some work done, and this is just normal for us. He can go in and out. Our backyard is fenced in. We're in a nice, safe neighborhood. Well, the ball bounced off the rim and rolled over in the grass by the fence. He went over to grab it, and apparently there was a copperhead snake in the grass that he couldn't see. It was dusky, and it bit him. It bit him on the finger. And he was so shocked. He didn't know what happened. He didn't see the snake. Suddenly, he's in terrible pain. He ran, screaming, crying into the house. My husband had no idea what was going on. Was trying to find out what happened. My son didn't know. He's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know. I don't know why it hurts. And it was turning red and swelling. And so my husband called me and he said, I think that you need to come home. I think Henry got bit by a snake because there was blood and that's all he could think. So, I mean, long story short, this ended up being a long ordeal of like 23 hours being in the ER, being taken by medical airplane because we're in a tiny town, no pediatric ICU, 150 miles away to Houston. And I mean, just so many things worked in our favor. This hospital had antivenom. They found a way that he could be transported. I was allowed to fly with him. My 8-year-old didn't have to be alone. There's a lot of anxiety that was happening during those hours. Is he going to be alone? What's going to happen? Will he be scared? Will he be terrified and he'll be in the hospital without me? That was anxiety. I was experiencing that for sure. And I was noticing it in my body. I was noticing that tension and that worry. And I was having to rein myself in. I'm going to teach you how to do that in a minute. But just noticing it and how I was thinking of what could possibly be the worst outcome. What's going to happen to his hand? It's swelling up. The swelling is spreading. And just all the things that were happening. Anxiety was a big part of that experience. And um, and so thankfully the antivenin worked. We got to Houston. I got to be with him the whole way. The whole time I was so blessed with strength and energy we were up all night and with all the transporting and all the care. And we got to go home the next late afternoon. And he's just made a beautiful recovery. He's completely fine. Um, so I had no way of knowing when my husband called me and said, I think he's been bit by a snake. I had no way of knowing what 24 hours later would look like. No clue. Had no idea. I've never been through a snake bite before. And I think that when we're trying to control, if I was trying to control the situation, I would have made things probably worse, trying to force the doctor to do this and force them to do that. I don't know. I don't have that training. What am I going to do about it? But I just think that I had no idea. I had to let go and let things play out. I had to put my trust in other people and trust that they were making the right calls. Trust they knew what they were doing. And I really didn't feel that confident with a couple people. But other people I did. But I still had to just trust it. And that's where the shift really happened for me was was to say to myself, I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I don't know if that swelling is going to continue up his arm because we could see that progression. His finger swelled up, and then his hand more and more and more got swollen, and by the time they finally got the antivenin in his body, then the swelling stopped progressing, and I was just so relieved. But I still didn't know, could it start up again? What else is going to happen? Could he have a reaction to that antivenin? They said this can happen. I was like, oh, great. Why'd you tell me that? Another thing to worry about. But the point being, when it comes to anxiety, when we can make peace with letting go of control where we cannot control. I cannot control my son's body. I cannot control how his body responds to and takes in medicine. I have no control over that. And I did my best to keep him calm and keep him happy. And on his own, he handled it like a champ, except for the IV. He threw a fit and we had to hold him down, which was terrible. But everything else, he was just calm. He was chipper. He was talking and chatting with the medics. They were all giggling over funny, cute things he was saying and just rattled on about airplanes. And I couldn't control that. I could do my best to influence him, but in the end, it was his own mindset and his own body, his own spirit that gave him that peace, that gave him that ability to stay calm. I couldn't control the doctors and nurses. I could have influence. I could ask for things. I could advocate. I could ask a lot of questions. And when they said, I don't know, then I was like, that doesn't help me at all. But then having to say to myself again, I can't control them. I can't control everything. I have to let this play out. I'm going to do all that I can. And believe me, I was praying really hard and I was contacting other people to see what they knew, what they could help with. Um, but anxiety is not control. We are not controlling the situation when we are experiencing anxiety. We are just having a reaction to our thinking that is saying, this is bad. So here's what I want to offer you. What do we do when we have that kind of experience where we have things we can't control, which is every day, all day long? There's things we can't control. But I want you to think about anxiety as just a response to your brain thinking about something as a threat. And Brené Brown, in her book, she says that anxiety can often manifest and we respond to it in a couple different ways. One way can be worry. Another way could be avoidance. We just think, oh, if I ignore it, it's not happening. So often, then see what resonates with you because we're all different and we'll be different at different times. There have been other times when I've been far more flustered, far more upset, but this time I felt that reassuring feeling of letting go of control and being open to it playing out and just doing the best I could and trusting in a good outcome instead of a negative one. But when it comes to worry, let's remember and let's realize, let's take this in. We can't worry enough to change someone else or to change a circumstance. Worry itself does not change anything. Worry is not an action. Worry doesn't change anything. Worry is just a set of thoughts jumbled up and, just kind of zooming around in your brain. Worry is thoughts, worry is not action. So if you are experiencing anxiety and you are in a state of worry, you're thinking, worst possible scenarios. You're imagining the worst case scenarios. You're seeing those images. It's very real, and your body's feeling it. It's very real. And you're having a very physical reaction to it. Worry can't fix it. Worry can't fix it. Worry is just going to make you sick. It's going to make your body weak and make you less able to cope and to think in a bigger picture or to think more objectively and to reach out for help or to be patient with people around you, right? So when you notice the thinking, you're recognizing it. This is step number one. Recognize it. I'll write this here too. So what do? Step number one, we need to recognize it. Recognize your thinking. Maybe notice first your body. That might be the first thing you can notice. Okay, oh boy, my heart is racing. I'm really tense. I'm really tight. Noticing the physical sensations and saying, okay, I have this, and this is what I'm feeling. So these are the sensations. So this is anxiety. This is what it feels like. This is worry. This is worry. This is what my body does when I'm worried. When I have anxiety, when I'm anxious about something, this is what my body's doing. Okay. Okay, so we notice it. We notice our physical response, right? Then notice, next step, recognize your thoughts. What are you thinking? What are the thoughts up here that are creating that experience in your body? What are you thinking? For me, I was like, is he going to lose his finger? Is he going to lose his hand? Could this kill him? I don't even know. Are copperheads lethal? I haven't had this experience. I'm always afraid of snakes. I'm always looking for snakes. We see a lot of snakes in our area. I have some anxiety about that, and I'm always like, is that a stick or a snake? Every stick is a snake until it's a stick. And that's how I'm on my walks. We see snakes often. So I do have some like ongoing anxiety about snakes. But that also can help us to be a little vigilant and careful, which is a good thing. So anxiety is not totally bad. But I want you to notice first, is your anxiety helping you though? Is it helping you to handle the situation? Is it helping you to be in a healthy physical state? Or is it sabotaging your health? Is it helping you to make, okay, I'm going to make some careful choices. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to be proactive. Or is it just making you really stressed and angry and irritable and hard to be around and to not love your life, right? Is it impacting your life? So recognize the feelings in your body and recognize the thoughts that are creating that, because it's that direct communication that's happening, and just noticing it. Okay. Oh boy, I'm getting tight. I'm getting all wound up just thinking about anxiety and what I was feeling last week, looking at my son all hooked up to an IV and antivenom, and all this stuff is happening. So number two, when you've realized, oh, noticing your body and then noticing your thinking and start writing it down. That's such a powerful thing, writing out your thoughts or being able to verbalize them to someone who's loving and willing to listen to you. And number two is to reframe. Reframe your thinking. I'm going to say R because this is me too. Reframe our thinking. So I was in the ER with my son and I'm thinking the worst things possible. The change was when I realized I have to let this play out. I'm going to advocate for him, but I don't know what to do. And so I have to be open to whatever whatever happens. And for a while there, they kept saying, we don't know if you can travel with him. We don't know if there's room. Because on a helicopter, there wouldn't have been. On a medical, life flight, there wouldn't have been room. But they couldn't get one. They were busy. They were like taking other flights. They couldn't get one available. So then we had to get a medic plane. And I was like, a plane? What the heck? Like, why are we taking a plane? Um, but I had to just roll with it, right? And then knowing, and so I came home, but first of all, I thought I was not going to be able to fly with him because we're looking for helicopters. Airplanes were not in my brain. So I came home to start packing. It was 1 in the morning. I was going to have a 2.5 hour drive to get to this pediatric ICU in Houston. So I came home, I started packing an overnight bag for 2 days. I had no idea this is going to work. I packed for 2 days, got some clothes for my son, and then my husband called again. He said, hey, they got a plane. It's at the little regional airport, the little county airport, and the ambulance is ready. So come now or they're going to leave you. So I was speeding with my hazards on, like it's 1 in the morning. Nobody's here. But I had to stop and say, I'm going to just roll with it, whatever the outcome is. I'm going to trust this process. I'm going to trust these people know what they're doing. I'm going to climb on this little plane, kind of like a private jet, kind of cool. Not that I want to pay for this right now. But my son's okay. He's stable. The swelling stopped progressing. And I'm in good hands. And I got some anxiety about flying this little airplane, very woo, getting up, and very woo, coming down. And I'm like, people crash on takeoff more often than they crash on landing. Oh, wait, I don't want to think about that. That's not a helpful thought. I had to reframe my thinking over and over and over. We're going to land safely. This guy knows what he's doing. This pilot has done this thousands of times. And do that calming breathing. Okay. We get into the hospital, and immediately the doctor's there waiting for us, and he turns out to be the snakebite expert of the country. He sees more snake bites than anybody. And the other doctor was like, he's the best. And I was like, okay, that's good to know. And that was also reframing that thought of, do they know what to do? He does. He knows more than I do. I'm going to trust him. He's going to control the situation. I'm going to follow his lead. So that constant process of reframing, I can't predict that we're going to crash land. I have no control over that. And that was actually something I had to really think through for myself as we're like, woo, landing, because it's a small, tiny, tiny plane. um, and just, it was just so interesting to keep catching myself in an anxiety loop and then noticing, okay, the worry's not going to help me. I'm just trusting him. We're going to land. I'm trusting God is with us. He's making this all work out for us. And just keep going with that. And as I kept focusing on that reframe, every time I started to get ruminating or like, I shouldn't have left him in the backyard, I should have brought him in the house, or all the little things that I was thinking. I had to keep catching myself. And I want you to learn how to do this too. Catch it. Notice it. Oh, this is anxiety. This is worry. Is it going to help me? Is it helping me right now? Is it changing the direction of things? No, it's really not. I have to just work with this and lean into it. And then that's the number 3, is move forward. And not just move forward, but really the antidote, if I'm going to give some antivenom, whichever way you want to say it, because apparently it's antivenin, but we just also colloquialism say antivenom. The antidote for anxiety is hope. Move forward with hope. Now, you cannot control the outcome all the time, right? And it's anxiety that is causing you, or it's your thoughts about the worst possible scenarios that's causing anxiety in your body. That can't always be helpful. Sometimes anxiety can help us to look for ways to prevent a bad thing from happening. If I had said, oh, what if there are snakes in our yard? He should go inside. Um, he shouldn't play basketball by himself at dusk in East Texas in the springtime when all the baby copperheads are being born. We just can't prevent everything. And it's okay. It's okay to have hardship at times. It's okay to have difficult experiences. It's okay to have really painful moments. We learn from them. We grow from them. We develop compassion for others. I can tell you so much about snake bites now and how to treat them. We learn from our experiences. We gain compassion for others. We gain wisdom. We we delight more in the calm, peaceful, boring, nothing bad happened moments. We love boredom. We love nothing happening. Our hard moments are going to happen. We can't always prevent them. We can't always prevent our children from suffering. We can help them adopt a mindset of hope. We can exhibit that and demonstrate it and model it for them and help them to become more resilient because their life is going to be pockmarked with hardship as well. It's inevitable. How we handle it and how we demonstrate it to our child is so powerful. Earlier, I said, how did you grow up? What was your home like? What was your experience like with hardship and challenge? Was there a lot of contention or chaos, or was there anxiety where your parents, your caregivers, not handling challenges well? That can influence how you feel. You now have the chance to change that pattern in your own children, in your own family, by learning to gain your own resilience around difficult things and reining in that natural process that our brains are just going to do, thinking of the worst possible outcome, and remind yourself that's not happening right now. This airplane is not crashing right now. We just landed. Everything's okay. Okay. Now let's move on to the next thing. Notice it. So recognize the symptoms of anxiety in your body. Then clue up here. Ooh, what's happening? What's the ticker tape happening up here? Recognize it. And then reframe it. Is that thought helpful right now? That we might take off and crash, or we might land and crash. Is that going to help me? Is it going to help my son get care that he needs if I'm sitting there in the dark in the airplane thinking we're going to crash? It's not going to help anything. I'm going to reframe that thought and say, this pilot knows what he's doing. He's done this 10,000 times. These people are trained. They've done this over and over. I have been through hard things, and I'm still here. I have that resolve and that resilience as well, that I can handle hard things. I might have a really good outcome. And if things are hard, if it gets worse before it gets better, we're in this together. We're going to see it through and we're going to be okay. We're going to have a good outcome in the end. It might take time. Maybe he will not handle this antivenom right. Maybe it's not going to work. They're going to do something else to help my child. And we just keep going through and we notice what our worries are. And that's why I think writing them down is so powerful. If you made a list, you wrote down all of your worries, all the things. For one thing, you'll be able to cross off like 90% of them saying that's totally impossible. That cannot happen. So often we make up things that are totally impossible and we think it could happen and it won't. It's not going to happen. And so go through your list of worries. What are your worries? And then write yourself a hope statement that can be the antivenom for that anxiety, that worry that you have that's creating the anxiety in your body. What's the antidote for that? We might crash, we might not. This pilot knows what he's doing. He's alive. He's never crashed and died before. He's going to get me there safely. The hospital knows what they're doing. They have it. they've got it going. They know how to do an IV. Everything's okay. And just to follow up on this, so boy, when my son was so scared about his IV, it was because he was having one of these moments where he was remembering the past. So a year ago, he had an ear infection that unfortunately we weren't able to completely get rid of before it had spread to the bone right behind his ear, the mastoid bone. And so he developed an infection in that bone. And the doctor said, oh, if we can't kill this infection, he might have to have surgery to remove that bone that is infected. And I was like, okay. So he had to have some antibiotic shots, the Rocephin. And if you've ever had that, they are big needles. It goes very slowly and it burns. It hurts. So that poor little boy, we had to hold him tight as they gave him that Rocephin shot. And so he's remembering that from a year ago. And they're showing him, and I was like, nurse, show him how tiny the IV needle is. And it's just this little tube, like a straw, we need to put in your arm so they can put in the antivenin. We need that now. But his brain was so latched onto this painful experience from a year ago, he couldn't calm down. And I'm trying all my, like, do some breathing, let's do box breathing, let's do rainbow breathing. No, he wasn't having any of my mindset work. We ended up having to hold him and hold him tight. There were three nurses and me, and just hold him and get it in. And then it was awful. But then the next day, he had to have another blood draw. It was the middle of the night. It was like 3:30 in the morning. We hadn't slept yet. And so he was just so exhausted and limp. They were able to get that blood draw in his wrist, I think it was, on the top. Just without any problem. He couldn't do anything about it. He just looked at that, watched them do it, and he was like, oh, okay. Well, then yesterday, a few days later, he had to get another blood draw to make sure that his body was not producing blood clots or having any bad reaction to the antivenin. And he was kind of nervous about it. But when we went in for it, he sat down, he put his arm out, and she took care of it. This phlebotomist took care of it, and he didn't put up any fight at all. And I was like, phew, okay. I had a little anxiety about it. I was worried, right? But he did it just fine. He just sat there, and he was nervous, and he kind of squeezed his arm really tight, and we're like, hey, now you can relax it. And it was fine. And afterwards, we're driving in the car, and I said, Henry, I'm so proud of you. You were so calm. That was so much better than Thursday night for the IV. What helped you to be calm? And he said, well, I've done it before, and it doesn't hurt as much as a shot, so it's no big deal. It's not so bad. I was like, wow. So that's what can help us when we're having anxiety. Remember a time where things were fine, where you were strong. You handled a hard thing. It wasn't as bad as something else that was bigger and worse. That's part of reframing. That's what he did. And I didn't even have to tell him to do that. He just remembered, oh yeah, it wasn't so bad when I got that blood draw after the IV. The IV for him was terrible. I don't know how I'll help you next time. But he just realized, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. His worry was amplifying his fear and making things worse for him. But this time around, he could draw from a past experience. So that time, looking back, was helpful for him. It helped to create a feeling of calm in his body because he could remember back to the other blood draw that wasn't the IV, that wasn't as painful. It wasn't a big deal. So that's what our bodies and our brains can do. I want you to notice that. We don't need to protect our anxiety and coddle it and give it more fuel and say, I'm going to put you on a pedestal and let anxiety just, you're going to be the boss. I'm going to do whatever you want. I'll feed you grapes, fan you with palm branches. We don't need to treat anxiety like something we need to protect. We don't need to treat anxiety as something that is just what it is and we have no control. We don't have control over things around us very much. We don't have control over circumstances as much as we wish we did. We have some, we can see what we can do, but we need to remember anxiety is just something happening in our body. It's not a limb. It's not an organ that we need to keep. Anxiety is just a collection of symptoms because of our thinking. and we get to decide how long we want to stay in that. There are lots of methods, and I highly recommend yoga, meditation, um, like deep breathing exercises, learning. There's so many different ways to regulate your nervous system and help to reduce that feeling of tension. And when you can calm your body, that sends signals of safety to your brain and can help turn that off so that your thinking brain comes back on. And then you can think of new ways of thinking. Then you can reframe. It's very, very hard to reframe when your body is still tight and sending that danger signal back up because it goes up and down. So your brain sends the signal, your body feels it, sends it back like, oh, this is happening, this is happening. So if you can find a way, what works best for you, the deep breathing, yoga, meditation, you don't need to go anywhere. You can be in the moment. I really could have looked up a meditation right then if I'd thought about it. I didn't, but I could have. And that's something you could do when you're in the middle, caught in that cycle. Find the thing that's going to work for you. Then there's going to be the longer term, the slower process after that, the writing it down, talking about it, getting it all out, noticing what your thoughts are, realizing the ones that are just totally bogus. You can just erase them right away. And then helping to reframe the other ones that do seem more plausible. In the moment, I really thought we could crash the airplane, but I had to just reframe it. Nope, this pilot knows what he's doing. Um, so, um, so take that in. Notice what works for you. Notice your personal mechanism that's happening. Everybody's different. What works for you might not work for me. What works for me might not work for you. It might work today, it might not work next month. Something else might be better. But take the time to honor your body and get to know your nervous system and your brain and your muscles and everything that's happening. What helps you? Find it out. Take time to honor your body and to discover what really helps you. You don't have to protect your anxiety. You don't have to stay there. Let it be your teacher. Okay, I'm worried about something. What am I worried about? Oh, okay, this is what I'm worried about. What can I do about it? I can control this. I can't control that, but I can have influence on here. I can work on this, and I'm going to have to let go of all the rest of it and allow it to play out. And I'm going to be okay. I'm going to handle it. So thank you for joining me. I hope you got something useful out of this and feel encouraged that you're the pilot. You're the pilot of your body and your emotions. Don't let anxiety take over and become the autopilot. You get to keep the controls. All right. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week.